Hello, class. It's been a while. Well, this is American English File, 2nd edition, Book 4. And it's part 3B, incredibly short stories. But before we start, make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, I attached the slide for this lesson down there. Be sure to check it. Let's learn. Part 1. Grammar. The position of adverbs and adverbial phrases. Everybody, read the 4 50-word stories. Each of these stories have 50 words, okay? And try to match each story, A, B, C, D, to one of the titles. For example, The Story of My Life, Generation Gap, In the Cards, Good Intentions. Well, it's your turn. Take your time and do it.
A few minutes later.
Okay, my turn. She recognized the writing on the envelope immediately. The fortune teller had warned her that she had no future with him. Yet, here he was, 5 lonely years after their last meeting, begging her to join him in New York. She felt unbelievably happy as she stepped on board the Titanic. Damn! Alright, so what is the title for this one? In the Cards. Next one. My house looks as if it had hit by a bomb. Since I'm terrible at organizing, I bought a new book, Key to Organizing Your Life. I felt so proud. I started cleaning the bookcase. 5 minutes later, I couldn't believe my eyes. I bought the same book last year. Yeah, Good Intentions. Next one. He was worried. Unfortunately, since his wife's death, his teenage daughter had become extremely difficult. He had agreed 2 a.m. as the latest return time from nightclubs. Now it was 3:30. He prepared himself for confrontation as the door opened. Dad, she shouted angrily. I've been frantic. You're late again. So this one is generation gap. Frantic means very worried. And the last one, the answer is obvious. The Story of My Life. Stage 1, feel fat, go on diet, lose weight, feel fabulous, buy new clothes. Stage 2, eat normally but controlling intake, look fabulous, new clothes slightly tight. Stage 3, eat and drink normally, potatoes, bread, pasta and smoothies, new clothes don't fit, old clothes thrown away. Back to stage 1. That's the story of my life. Very good. That was the start. But now, look, we have some highlighted words. I need you to look at these words, these yellow highlighted words, okay? Think about what they mean and notice their position in the sentence. Write them in the correct place in the chart. Types of adverbs: time, manner, how you do something, degree, describing, modifying an object, for example, like very. Comment, giving an opinion, for example, luckily. Take your time, do it with your friends, learn together.
A few moments later.
Well done. Now, the first part, time, immediately, 5 minutes later, last year. Very good. Manner, frantic, normally. Degree, unbelievably, extremely, slightly. Last one, as a comment, unfortunately. Well done. That's a very good start. Let's continue. Now, me and you. We're going to do it together. We're going to use the bold words like frequently, hardly ever, fortunately, extremely, right away, and put them in the sentences. For example, he speaks Chinese and Spanish. Okay, we can say he speaks Chinese and Spanish fluently. I use public transportation hardly ever. I hardly ever use public transportation. Next one. I thought I'd lost my phone, but it was in my bag, fortunately. I thought I'd lost my phone, but fortunately it was in my bag. It's important that you arrive on time extremely. You can say it is extremely important that you arrive on time. Last one. As soon as I know, I'll tell you right away. As soon as I know, I'll tell you right away. Good. You know the most part. Let's check it out. My friends, listen.
2.13. 1.
He walks very slowly.
I speak 5 languages fluently.
The driver was seriously injured in the accident.
2.
I hardly ever have time for breakfast.
Liam's always late for work.
I would never have thought you were 40.
3.
My parents will be here in half an hour.
It rained all day yesterday.
4.
I'm nearly finished.
We're incredibly tired. My husband works a lot, but he doesn't earn much.
5.
Unfortunately, the package never arrived.
Ideally, we should leave here at 10.
Very well, very good. So as you can see, we're talking about adverbs and adverbial phrases. But the first question is, what is an adverb? Adverb describes the action. For example, he walks very slowly. So it's describing the act of walking, which is slow, right? So as I said, adverbs can describe an action. For example, he walks slowly, or modify adjectives or other adverbs. For example, it's incredibly expensive. He works very hard. They can either be one word, for example, often, or a phrase, once a week. Very good. So we have different categories. Number 1, adverbs of manner. As you can see, they describe how somebody does something. They usually go after the verb or verb phrase. However, with passive verbs, they usually go in mid position, before the main verb, but after an auxiliary verb. Then we have adverbs of frequency that go before the main verb, but after the verb to be. Sometimes, usually, normally, okay? They can also be put at the beginning of the phrase or sentence for emphasis, or if there are two auxiliary verbs, the adverbs go after the first one. Now we have adverbs of time and place, usually go at the end of the sentence or a clause, and as the name suggests, they talk about time. Now we have adverbs of degree, describe how much something is done, or modify an adjective to be precise. For example, extremely, incredibly, very, all right, a lot, much, a little bit. Very good. So they usually modify the action and the extremeness, or how much of something is being done. And we have comment adverbs, and they are usually for expressing the opinion. For example, luckily, basically, clearly, obviously, apparently, eventually. But you don't need to memorize this, okay? You just need to practice, and you just need to listen well and use them in your writing. Just one more thing I wanted to add. Yeah, look, most other adverbs go in the mid position. For example, I just need 10 more minutes. She didn't even say goodbye. She'll probably come in the end. Now let's master together. Let's practice everything together with me. Okay, time to practice. Let's learn together. I have 2 exercises for you. Underline the adverbs or adverbial phrases and correct the sentences where the order is wrong. For example, we're going to be unfortunately late. No, unfortunately, we're going to be late. Or he can speak Turkish fluently. Oh, this one is correct. Okay, so If it's wrong, put an X and correct it. If it's right, just put a tick. Next one, put the adverbs in parentheses in the normal position in the sentences. For example, look, seriously. He wasn't seriously injured when she fell, all right, or when she fell down. Very good. Stop the video. You know the instructions. Take your time. Do it yourself. No help from anyone. This is your turn. Take your time. Do it. And if you're ready, let's practice with me. Number one, she liked very much the present. She liked the present very much. Number two, Mark came last night very late home. No. Mark came home very late last night. Number three, the ambulance arrived at the scene of the accident after a few minutes. It's correct. A young man was injured badly and was taken to the hospital. A young man was badly injured and was taken to hospital. Number five, I was extremely tired last night. It's true. Number six, she's lazy a little bit about doing her homework. Okay, let's check. She's a little bit lazy about doing her homework. Number seven, I forgot your birthday almost, but fortunately my sister reminded me. Well, the first part is wrong, the second part is correct. I almost forgot your birthday. All right? Number eight, we luckily had taken an umbrella because it started to rain just after we left. Well, luckily we had taken an umbrella. Okay, Mary doesn't always eat healthily, but she often has snacks between meals. Okay, true. And Jack has been apparently fired. Well, now, apparently, Jack has been fired. Very good. Next one. Okay, number one. Their house was badly damaged in the fire last week, often in the evening. Okay. Ben is often at his friend's house in the evening, usually in the afternoon. My father usually takes a nap in the afternoon. Number four. Julia left early and she didn't even say goodbye. Number five, Martin always talks incredibly fast. Number six, apparently his brother nearly died in a skiing accident. Number seven, we're probably going to the movies tonight. Number eight, I rarely send emails nowadays. Number nine, I've just bought a really beautiful new coat. And last one, number 10. Eventually, Karen realized that she was never going to learn to drive. And that's all there is to it for the first part. The practice continues. Follow me. My friends, you're going to listen to some sound effects and short dialogues. Then use the bold adverbs to complete the sentences. All right, let's do it together with me.
2.14. 1.
Oh no!
2.
Oh, what happened to the music?
3.
Can I see your boarding pass?
Oh no, I lost it. Where is it? Where is it?
I'm afraid you can't fly if you don't have your boarding pass.
Oh, here it is. Thank goodness. It was in my pocket.
4.
Tom, this is Andrea. But, of course, you two know each other, don't you?
Actually, we've only met once, so not really. Hi, Andrea.
Hello.
5.
I can't see a thing. I think we better stop for a little bit.
6.
Excuse me. Please, could you tell me how to get to the train station?
Sure, dude. Right down Main Street, left at the light, straight through the underpass, and then it's right in front of you.
Pardon?
All right. So these are the example answers. When she got to the bus stop, the bus had just gone. They were having a party when suddenly the electricity went off, there was a power outage, or when the light suddenly went out, etc. He thought he lost his boarding pass, but luckily he found it in his pocket. Or the woman thought Andrea and Tom were friends, but in fact they hardly knew each other. The driver couldn't see where he was going because it was raining so hard. And Juan couldn't understand the man because he spoke incredibly fast, or he was speaking very quickly. All right, very good. I have another 50-word story for you. Let's read it together. Who is it about? Exam nerves. It was nearly 4 a.m. and she could hardly keep her eyes open. She had been working hard since lunchtime, but the exam was near. Would she be able to finish on time? At 9 the next morning, she was in the classroom. Okay, she said. You can start now. Very good. Very nice. So, who is it about? Well, it is about a teacher who had to stay up late preparing an exam. It wasn't about the students. So that's your surprise over there. Now, look at the highlighted adverbs. Take a look. Nearly, hardly, hard, near. All right? What is the difference between hard and hardly, near and nearly? Speak with your friends. Find the differences. Take your time. Very good. So, hard, needing a lot of effort. Hardly, almost not. Near, close. Nearly, almost. That's the difference. But we are not done yet. This was just the start. Just a little taste. Follow me for the challenge. This is your challenge. You need to match each pair of adverbs with a pair of sentences. For example, look, number 1. Hard, hardly. He trains very hard, at least 3 hours a day. It's incredibly foggy. I can hardly see anything. All right, so we have the other ones. We have 1 to 8. Take your time. You can do it with your friends. Match them together. You can stop the video as well. Now let's listen and check if you have done it. Let's go.
2.15 Confusing adverbs and adverbial phrases. 1.
He trains very hard, at least 3 hours a day.
It's incredibly foggy. I can hardly see anything.
2. I hate it when people arrive late for meetings.
I haven't heard from Mike lately. He must be very busy.
3.
At the end of a movie, I always stay and watch the credits roll.
I didn't want to go, but in the end, they persuaded me.
4.
I love most kinds of music, but especially jazz.
My wedding dress was specially made for me by a dressmaker.
5.
She looks younger than me, but actually she's 2 years older.
Right now they're renting a house, but they're hoping to buy one soon.
6.
I'm nearly finished with my book. I'm on the last chapter.
Excuse me, is there a bank near here?
7.
Have you found a job yet?
He's 35, but he still lives with his parents.
8.
Have you ever been to the U.S.?
I've been all over the U.S. I've even been to Alaska.
You did great. That was your test. As for this part, read the sentences. No rush. Then match the bold adverbs with definitions 1 to 8. For example, look. Ideally, in a perfect world. Take your time and do it. Stop the video as well. And if you have done it, well, you can always check with me. No problemo. Let's do it.
2.16. Comment adverbs. 1,
Ideally.
2,
In fact.
3,
Basically.
4,
Obviously.
5,
Gradually.
6,
Apparently.
7,
Anyway.
8.
Eventually.
Perfect. Just perfect. My friends, just listen.
2.17.
Actually.
Almost.
Almost.
Apparently.
Apparently.
Basically.
Definitely.
Even.
Eventually.
Fortunately.
Gradually.
Ideally.
Incredibly.
Luckily.
Obviously.
Unfortunately.
All right, very good. Now that's how you should pronounce them. Now I need you to listen and repeat the sentences. Let's go. Listen, repeat.
2.18. 1,
There was a lot of traffic, and unfortunately, we arrived extremely late.
2,
We definitely want to go abroad this summer, ideally somewhere hot.
3,
It's incredibly easy. Even a child could do it.
4,
Mark gradually began to realize that Lily didn't love him anymore.
5,
I thought Roberto was Portuguese, but actually he's Brazilian.
6,
Apparently, Jack has been offered a promotion at work, but it will mean moving to New York.
7,
I absolutely love Italian food, especially pasta.
Very well, everyone. That's how you should pronounce them. Easy. Just practice on a daily basis. All right, do you remember those 50-word stories? Well, you're going to write one. Yes, you. You're going to use your creativity, imagination, and write one. Of course, but not alone. You and your friends talk to each other, find ideas, and write drafts. Read each other's drafts and try to write me a 50-word story. Who knows? Maybe you write a book one day. The choice is yours. All the way to writing part. Everybody read this story. What was the small mistake? And what happened in the end? I'll wait.
12 seconds later.
You're back. That was fast. Let's see. So, he wrote an email which had a negative comment about his boss's wife in it, and he accidentally sent it to his boss. And he was fired. Okay, very good. Now I need you to read the short story again and use adverbs and adjectives to help the story come alive. Okay, for example, aggressive. Or for example, in here we used one of them, family run. It was a small family run company. Take your time and fill in the blanks with these adverbs and words. Your turn again.
6.5 hours later.
All right, now let's read it together with me. All right, let me get my laser. Good. It was only a small mistake, but it changed my life forever. I had been working at J.B. Simpson's for 10 years. It was a small family-run company that exported outdoor furniture. I was very happy with my job. I got along well with the owner, Arthur Simpson, but not with his wife, Linda. She was a loud, aggressive woman who frequently used to turn up at the office and start criticizing us for no reason. Everyone disliked her. One afternoon, Mrs. Simpson came in while I was finishing writing a report. She looked at me and said, "If I were you, I wouldn't wear that color. It doesn't suit you at all." I was wearing a new pink shirt that I was very fond of, and her comments really annoyed me. I typed a quick email to Alan Simmons in sales. "Watch out, the old witch is here," and pressed send. A couple of minutes later, I was surprised to receive an email from Mr. Simpson asking me to come to his office immediately. When I opened the door, I saw his wife glaring at the computer screen. I realized to my horror that what I had done. I had clicked on Simpson instead of Simmons. An hour later, I was packing my things. I had been fired. Oh!
Fatality.
That was funny. That was really funny. But you want my advice? Work for yourself. Never work for someone who annoys you. Don't sell your time. Let your money work for you. This is my favorite part. Not gonna lie. Speaking. Today we're going to talk about reading habits. Okay, you have the categories, the press, books, novels, non-fictions, classics, and online web pages, chat forums, blogs. There are some questions about general reading. Then we have this question: do you read books for pleasure, for fun? If yes, these are the questions. If no, these are the questions. And reading and listening. For example, do you ever listen to a song and read the lyrics at the same time? All right, take your time, no rush. Answer the questionnaire. Do it, take your time. Now, you're going to speak to your friend. Compare your answers. All right? How similar are your reading habits? Discuss these with your friends. All yours. Part 6. Reading and Listening. The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. Now, everybody, this is a very famous story. I remember when I was growing up, we had it in our textbooks. And maybe some of you know this story. Anyway, I need you to read the part 1 of this story and answer the questions. You can stop the video, take your time, and do it. If not, let's listen and answer.
2.19 The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. Part 1.
$1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time by bargaining with the grocer and the vegetable man and the butcher until her cheeks burned with embarrassment. 3 times Della counted it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but sit on the shabby little couch and cry. So Della did it. Della lived with her husband in a furnished apartment at $8 a week. At the front door, there was an empty mailbox and a doorbell that no longer worked. And under the broken doorbell, there was a card with the name Mr. James Dillingham Young. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham came home and reached his apartment, he was called Jim and greatly loved by Mrs. James Dillingham, already introduced to you as Della, which is all very good. Della stopped crying and fixed her makeup. She stood by the window and looked out at a gray cat walking a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months with this result. $20 a week doesn't go far. Expenses had been more than she calculated. They always are. Only $1.87 to buy a present for Jim. Her Jim. She had spent many happy hours planning something nice for him, something fine and rare, something Jim deserved.
All right, very good. Check your answers with your friends. How did Della save the $1.87? Well, she saved it by asking the grocer, the vegetable man, and the butcher to reduce the prices of the food she bought. So she was bargaining with them, obviously. What detail about the apartment tells us how poor Della and her husband are? How poor are they? Well, the shabby couch and the broken doorbell. Why do you think the author uses gray 3 times in the 3rd paragraph? Well, to show how depressed Della is feeling. And does Della have enough to buy her husband a special gift? She doesn't have enough money to buy her husband a nice Christmas present. And can you guess the meaning of the highlighted phrases? Well, it's your gig. You should do it. Part 2. Now, I need you to listen to the rest of the story and answer the questions. Easy.
2.20 Part 2.
Della looked at herself in the mirror. She pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now there were 2 possessions that Jim and Della were very proud of. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. It reached below her knee and made itself almost like a garment for her. As she looked in the mirror, she had an idea. She did her hair up again nervously and quickly. She hesitated for a minute and stood still while a tear or 2 fell on the worn red carpet. But then she put on her old brown jacket. She put on her old brown hat. With a brilliant sparkle in her eyes, she danced out the door and down the stairs to the street. Where she stopped, the sign read, Madame Sofronie, hair goods of all kinds. Della ran up 1 flight of stairs and then stopped, panting.
Will you buy my hair?
Asked Della.
I buy hair,
said Madame.
Take your hat off and let's take a look at it.
Down came the brown hair.
$20,
said Madame, lifting the hair with her hand.
Give it to me, quick,
said Della. The next 2 hours sped by quickly. She hurried through the stores looking for Jim's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. There was no other like it in any of the stores, and she had turned them all inside out. It was a platinum chain, simple and elegant in design. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. It was like him, quietness and value. The description applied to both Jim and the chain. She paid $21 for the chain, and she hurried home with 87 cents.
All right, very good. So what are Jim and Della's prized possessions? They are very proud of them. His watch and her hair. What idea comes to Della's mind as she looks at herself in the mirror? Well, to sell her hair to get money to buy Jim a Christmas present. How does Della feel just before she puts on her jacket and hat and when she's leaving her apartment? Why? Sad at the thought of losing her hair, but then happy at the thought of the present she's going to buy Jim. And how much does Madame Sofronie offer Della for her hair? Well, $20. What does Della spend it on? Well, a chain for Jim's watch. And why does she think it's so right for him? Because it's simple and elegant, quiet and valuable. But this story hasn't finished yet. Let's continue. Part 3. I need you to read or listen and answer the questions. You can look at the glossary to help you. Well, let's listen.
2.21 Part 3.
When Della reached home, she got out her curling irons and went to work repairing the damage to her hair. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with curls that made her look wonderfully like a naughty schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror long, carefully, and critically.
If Jim doesn't kill me,
she said to herself,
before he takes a second look at me, he'll say I look like a chorus girl. But what could I do? Oh, what could I do with $1.87?
At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made, and the frying pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Jim was never late.
Please, God, make him think I am still pretty,
Della whispered. The door opened, and Jim stepped in. He stopped inside the door. His eyes were fixed on Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read, and it terrified her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor horror, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her with a peculiar expression on his face.
Jim, darling,
she cried,
don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold it because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow again. You won't mind, will you? I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you.
You've cut off your hair?
Asked Jim, as if he could not understand the fact.
Cut it off and sold it,
said Della.
Don't you like me just as well anyhow? I'm me without my hair, aren't I?
Jim looked about the room curiously.
You say your hair is gone?
He said with an air almost of idiocy.
I see. Well, why does Della curl her hair to try to make her short hair look better? What is she worried about that Jim won't find her beautiful anymore? How does Jim react when he first sees Della? He doesn't show any emotion. Well, I think he's very surprised. And number 4, how does Della try to convince Jim not to worry about her short hair? Well, my hair grows back so fast, I had to sell it. All right. So what do you think is going to happen next? Have you read this story before? If you haven't, write your guesses. The last part. Well, this is the finale, the final part of this story. Okay, you can look at the glossary to help you. Listen to the end of the story. What happens? What is the irony about the two presents? Do you like the way this story ends? Well, let's see.
2.22 Part 4
Jim drew a package from his overcoat pocket and threw it upon the table.
Don't make any mistake, Del,
he said.
About me. I don't think there's anything that could make me like my girl any less. But if you'll unwrap that package, you may see why I was upset at first.
Della tore at the string and paper. And then a scream of ecstatic joy.
Oh!
And then, alas, a quick change to hysterical tears and crying. For there lay the set of combs that Della had really wanted. Beautiful combs, just the color to wear in her beautiful vanished hair. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had longed for them without the least hope that she would ever own them. And now they were hers. But the hair that the beautiful combs should have adorned was gone. But she hugged them to her chest, and at length she was able to look up with dim eyes and a smile and say,
My hair grows so fast, Jim.
And then Della jumped up. Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present. She held it out to him.
Isn't it dandy, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it.
Instead of obeying, Jim sat down on the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled.
Del,
He said,
Let's put our Christmas presents away and keep them a while. They're too nice to use right now. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now, suppose you put the chops on.
Oh, well, that was very nice, wasn't it? That's true love right there. So, they gave up something important to buy the other a gift. They bought each other gifts that they could not no longer use. How many girls or men do you see these days? Old times were really different.
Emotional, damn it!
And that's the practice for today. Everybody, if you look down there, you'll see the slide and you'll see the link to the drive where you can look at all these slides. As always, if you have a question, suggestion, or any criticism, you can comment down below and I will get back to you. And if you like the work, make sure to like and subscribe and share it. That's it for today. And you can also become a member and help this project. Well, I'm tired already, so I'm off. See ya.